Welcome to the Rich Flow of Life podcast. Join Valerie Kanay, the award-winning authority author, as she takes you on a journey for your personal evolution. Valerie Kanay talks to enlightened featured guests who hold the keys to unlock your unique life situation. They each bring to the table their very powerful personal spin to inspire and empower you to learn to step up your game into the rich flow of life.
Well, hello everybody, I'm Valerie Kanay, and today our featured guest is Roger Ramsukh, who I'm so proud, pleased, and honored to have joining us. You see, Roger is an incredible soul. He's the award-winning author of the book, The Top 20 Ways to Suck as a Parent. You see, Roger is truly fired up because he wants to bring the awareness to the crisis of the fearfulness that is running rampant in parenting in today's children. So let me tell you more about him. He is a certified cognitive behavioral therapist, an international speaker, and coach. He has over 15 years in the industry of behavior modification, and he's worked with the deeply challenged and hard to serve. That even includes Autism Spectrum Disorder, Developmental Delays, and mood disorders, and numerous other behavioral problems. So with his success track record, he's covered good ground, that's in group homes, government institutions, schools, hospitals, clinics, and the likes. But now check this out. Roger has taught conflict resolution. He's created safety plans and crisis intervention. Roger comes with an eclectic approach in dealing with this whole thing. You know, he has a unique kind of approach where he sees, what he tells me, he sees the individual first, and then second, the challenge that they are facing, that they have to learn how to live to the best and possible way, life that they can have for them. So he uses a firm mindset with a soft heart to make a difference in the lives of our children and in our families. This is why he created his website, www.thefearlessparent.com. So on that note, welcome, Roger, to our program.
Thank you so much for introducing me and talk about this awesome topic, and I'm so excited to be here.
All right, we're so glad to have you too, Roger. So all right now, so let's hop right in there because this stuff is so fascinating and so interesting that parents are nowadays afraid of their children. They're too busy trying to be friends, and we need to shed some light onto this whole situation. So Roger, tell me, why do you call the website The Fearless Parent?
Yeah, I get a lot of questions about that. The fearless parent seems such a strange word to attribute to a parent, but the truth of the matter is in our society today, parents are afraid. They're bombarded with information, and they're afraid to do something wrong. They're afraid to discipline because they think that Children's Aid Society is going to come down on them. They're afraid that other parents will condemn them or that they will look down on them. They're afraid to pay attention to the wrong things and the consequence, the improper things. And they're just afraid of everything. They're even afraid to leave their kids alone for a couple of hours because they think something's going to happen to them. They're afraid. I mean, once upon a time, I think you can relate to this too, Valerie. Once upon a time, we played all day outside, and we knew it was time to come home when the streetlights came on and dusk hit. And nowadays, could you imagine if a kid was out all day, didn't check in with the parents at all, and finally came home at night? The parents would be frantic with worry if they didn't have a cell phone. Right. Those days are gone. So parents live in a fearful state nowadays, and you're seeing this translate into the behaviors of the kids.
Right. So what are all the fears about? What are exactly the parents afraid of, Roger? What are they so scared of with their kids?
Well, have you ever been in a situation where you're at the grocery store and there's a kid throwing a temper tantrum because he wants some chocolate bar at the checkout line? I mean, that's the classic example. And I probably see this about once a week, honestly. And you see the parent, and sometimes they try to say no. And what does the child do? They kick it up a notch, and they really throw a temper tantrum. And now they're pounding the ground, and they're crying and everything else. And the parent, with downcast eyes and embarrassment, gives the chocolate bar, to which little Randy, finally with a little smile on his face, snatches the chocolate bar and wolfs it down in one bite, and mom trudges out of the store, eyes downcast, afraid to see the reproachful looks on people as they're walking out of the store because it's like, oh, she doesn't know how to control her kids. Like, she doesn't know how to parent at all. I was like, they're afraid to look bad in front of each other. And they're afraid to say no to their kids and to create a dynamic between their kids where they're not buddy-buddy. And I keep telling parents, you are not here to be your child's friend. You could be friendly, but I'm not your friend as a parent. I'm here to teach you stuff to let you out of the world at a certain point when you're ready to go. And you can stand on your own 2 feet, darn it.
Okay. And so what has changed, Roger? Seriously, what has really gone wrong that changed in our society to where the parents are so much more friendlier, like being on a friend state to their children rather than the parenting role? What's changed? I just want to know.
Yeah, well, there's two really big things. Number one, society has been conditioned by like TV shows and movies to make the parents look like little fools. And the kids are the smart alecky kids with the answers for everything. And these little kid shows, they perpetuate this myth that, oh, the kid's in charge and that the parents are foolish. And that's so wrong. And so you see kids starting to act the way their characters on TV act. That's the first thing. The second thing, I think, is just the fact that, and perhaps you can relate to this as well, we came from immigrant parents that came to the country and worked like slaves to try and put food on the table, a roof over your head. And they didn't have time left over for these, let's go to every single soccer game and every single piano recital that kids have nowadays. And there's these expectations that these kids have that mommy and daddy have to show for everything. And if they don't, then I'm going to be sad and my heart's going to get broken and my self-esteem is going to be damaged. And so you have this whole generation that are now parents that they've made this vow. And they said, I'm going to parent better than my parents did. And I'm going to be there for all these recitals. And I'm going to do all these things that I never got done to me. And so we've created a whole generation of little whiners who can't handle hardship, who have no resilience for life anymore and for the hard turns. And you and I both know life is going to give you a bunch of knockdowns.
Oh, my God, yes, yeah.
And so what happens, you cannot shield your child from all of those. And when your child gets that inevitable knockdown, beat down, what are they going to do? Come crying to you as 45-year-old adults? No, I don't think so.
So, Rod, do you have techniques, do you have ways, behavior modifications, where you teach both the parents and the children how to turn this thing around, right?
Oh, gosh, yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I even wrote a book about this, and I host webinars and seminars about this. The book that I wrote is called The Top 20 Ways to Suck as a Parent. And why do I call it as a parent? It's because I need parents to focus on their behaviors first, and then you can change the behavior of a child. And so you look at all the things that parents do that get reflected in their child, because a child is a sponge, and they sit there, they watch everything you do and every nuance that you do. And all your little bad habits, they get magnified by your child. So one of the first things I say is you want to change behavior, look at yourself, and then you can change it. And that's one of the key points that I make in most of my seminars, and that I even make in the book, is to say, I can teach you a dozen ways to get a child to come for dinner on the first try without having to call them 3 or 4 times. I can show you 6 different ways to get a child to clean up the room, for instance. But out of those 6 ways, you know right away which one will work for your child. You are the expert on your child. And I would never presume to tell you, I know your child better. Of course not. Now, do I know behavior better than the average person? Sure, absolutely. That's my job. But the adult has to know their child best. And what I teach is techniques and sometimes just the mindset where in just one word, you can stop an argument. And most people don't believe me when I say that.
One word?
With one word, I can teach you how to stop an argument. And the word isn't shut up either, even though that's technically 2 words. You can stop an argument long before it ever starts if you just know what to do. And that's what I teach in the course. It's thinking about how to deal with a situation from a place of love as opposed to a place of conflict. And I think the fearful part comes in where parents fear that this is going to get into conflict as soon as I say no to my child.
And what about, Roger, like you say, everything is like from conditioning in the home, mainly with these temper tantrums and outbreaks and stuff. You say even a 1-year-old can be trained. Is that right? Absolutely.
I shared the story a little while ago that I watched probably a 1.5-year-old condition their parents. And it was quite fascinating to sit there and watch a fully grown adult cater to the whims of a child. And the child totally played the parents like a fiddle, because the child knows exactly what to squawk to get fed, knows exactly what to squawk to get even attention. And the parents never picked up on this. Now, I, as a neutral third party, I can sit back and watch this and say, oh, look, here it comes again. And as soon as the child wants something, the child knows he just has to let out a little squawk or a loud squawk, and boom, the parents are right there. The child conditioned the parents that as soon as I open my mouth, you give me what I want. And it's fascinating.
It is
and
fascinating.
That an 18-month-old could do this. When you know what I know, when you take the courses and kind of get the thinking, you will look at other parents and roll your eyes and say, oh, gosh, we shouldn't have done that.
Right. So you can feed into it also. So, Roger, what ages do you serve? Is it just babies? Who do you serve?
Yeah.
Who do you help?
I deal a lot with parents of with kids. I seem to get a lot of the parents just as the kids are going into school for the first time. So around the JK age 4 level, I get a lot of parents that want to talk to me all of a sudden. And so I deal with a lot of them. And then pretty much right up through the school curriculum to the ever fearful teenager
Oh,
years.
no, the teenagers. Okay.
Yeah,
So you have a way to put a handle on the teenagers too, huh?
Well, I don't know if you can actually put a handle on a teenager anymore because they're way too smart and they've learned way too many. They Google everything and they know the laws sometimes better than we do. So what we do is we learn how to reason with them at their level so that it makes sense to them. Because let's face it, you and I don't do anything unless it means something to us personally. And so I think a lot of times parents get caught up in the trap of, I need you to do this, blah, 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 blah. But who cares? The teenager thinks to himself, who cares what you need? It's what I need, right? So I teach how to speak from a perspective that makes sense to the adolescent as opposed to makes sense to the adult.
Makes sense. Totally. So what should parents ultimately do, Roger? I guess that is the biggest question of the hour. What should they really do?
And you hit the nail right on the head, Valerie. It comes down to the proof is in the pudding. When at the end of the day, can I actually make a change in behavior? And the only way to do that, really, the first step, not the only way I should say, but the first step in that is to examine your own behaviors and look at what is it in your child that you're exhibiting yourself. And I'll tell you a quick little story. And one of the things I teach in my seminars, and you can get those at www.fearlessparent.com. Make sure you put in the .com. And you can sign up for some of my webinars and seminars. One of the first things I do is I don't teach a lot of really dry theory. And a lot of child psychologists and psychiatrists, and I work with many of them are my friends, and I have nothing negative to say about them, other than the fact that sometimes they speak so highbrow that you have no idea what they're actually saying. And I don't use jargon in my courses. I speak really, really down to the street, down to earth level so that you can actually understand. And I teach by telling stories because let's face it, who wants to read a textbook? Nobody. But who wants to hear a story, right? Everybody wants to hear a story, right? So one of the stories, I just told the other day was that a friend of mine that I hadn't seen in a while, he calls me up and says, hey, I'd like to have dinner with you. And I said, sure, we haven't seen each other in a while. So we get together, and over dinner, he tells me, Roger, I got to tell you, I'm having some issues with my son. He never gets off the phone. And even at the table, he's texting and he stays up late at night and he's texting people. And even when we go over to friends' houses, sometimes he has the audacity to ask them, what's your Wi-Fi code? So he can get on his laptop or on his cell phone, even at somebody's house. Now, I got to tell you, over the course of about a 90-minute dinner, my friend probably answered about 3 phone calls and probably answered about 5 or 6 emails or texts. Now, what kind of message does that send me, right? Who I'm sitting there, I take time out of my life to come and sit and have dinner with you for a while, and you're busy answering phone calls and emails. And so I said to him, so let me get this straight. You're having problems getting your son off the phone. Really? That's fascinating. And I hope you see where I'm going with this, because the truth of the matter is you have to pay attention to your own behavior before you can change it in somebody else's, right? And so one of the first things I say is, look at what you're doing first, and then apply some of the key. There are 2 or 3 key principles that I talk about to a specific situation, and you can get that child to come for dinner the first time you call them, which to some parents apparently is really amazing, that it's really, really easy to do. Or I can teach what's the proper way to consequence a negative or inappropriate behavior, right? I always say inappropriate behavior. I never say it's a bad behavior, because the behavior is not bad, it's not good. The behavior just serves a purpose. And for that child, whether that child is screaming at the top of their lungs to get a chocolate bar, or whether they are giving you the salad treatment and slamming the door in your face. That behavior serves a purpose. And when you recognize the purpose, you can fix it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is all bad behavior fixable?
Well, not what I'm going to use your term of to say bad behavior. If I had to choose between bad behavior and inappropriate, I like inappropriate.
Okay.
Better.
All right.
If I had to say, is all inappropriate behavior fixable? Absolutely.
Oh, that's good news.
You can change.
That's good news.
Except in ourselves. Fixing ourselves is a little bit tougher sometimes, but sometimes, and you know this as well as I do, sometimes you know exactly what you should do, but sometimes you just don't do it.
Mm-hmm. But that's why you need the outside help, because a third party can always see more clearly and more better than you can, because you're in the trenches of the storm, you know. So it's like you can't get the life jacket from the boat if you're down in the storm, down in the water. The person on top in the boat has to throw you the life jacket, you know.
So well said.
Yeah, so it's the same type of thing with what you do, Roger. And which is incredible. So what happens? Tell us about some of the dynamics of what goes on in your courses and your seminars, how you reach out and you band the family in to get this stuff straightened out.
Yeah, well, in the book, The Top 20 Ways to Suck as a Parent, I go through 20 specific things that parents perhaps do wrong. Now, I wouldn't say any parent does all 20 of them, but I'd say most parents do some of the 20. And so I highlight them and I go through them. And one of the first things I say is you need to have the awareness before you can change the behavior. And so my first job is to create the awareness. So in my seminars, we go through the top 20 things that parents may do that creates a negative outcome or an inappropriate outcome for their child. And then I teach them specific words. I teach them the mindset. I teach them specific techniques that we actually will practice in class so that, man, you're sharp by the end of it. And you can go home and use them that very night. I teach things that you can actually use in real life. I don't teach the fluffy theory around it.
Awesome. You give the real meat on the bones and let them know what it takes to make it a happy home, happy and safe and loving home, right?
Well, that's what it comes down to. What do I seek for everybody? I seek harmony in their home. Harmony. You can't get enough of it. Love, peace, harmony, joy, everything that makes the family just united. You want to unite that network. So, Roger, I really don't take lightly that you took your time out to spend with us on this incredible subject matter, because there's just nothing more important than the dynamics of the family structure. So, once again, as our program has come to an end, give us your website information, where we can get a copy of your book, and how we can work with you one more time. That would be great, yes. My book, again, is called The Top 20 Ways to Suck as a Parent. You can find that on my website, www.thefearlessparent.com. Make sure to put in the .com to get me. And you can sign up for one of my webinars or a seminar. Just leave your contact information, and we will get back to you. And I just got to say, I had so much fun talking to you, Valerie. You're such a spiritual being. And I know that we've conversed numerous times, and your radio show, the rich flow of life, meshes so well with the message that I have to people. It comes down to just this. I don't want your child to walk in your footsteps. I want your child to walk beside you and go further than you could have ever dreamed possible. And with that, I leave you and say thank you so much for having me. I had a blast. I had a blast too, Roger, as always. And I want to say thank you so much, and I love you dearly. Love you too. See ya. Okay, bye-bye.
You have been listening to the Rich Flow of Life podcast with host Valerie Kanay. We're most appreciative you took the time to be with us, and thank you. For more action, go subscribe to Valerie Kanay Talks YouTube channel and like us on Facebook at Valerie Kanay Talks and follow us on Twitter at Valerie Kanay. Until next time, we love ya.